Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mishnah Mastery. We've got a star-studded crowd with us tonight as we are going to be finishing Masechet Menachot. Absolutely fantastic. The 13th chapter of Masechet Menachos we're going to be finishing this evening. And so without further ado, what say we get on with this, guys? Good. Oh, everyone is just so excited. They just can't even. All right. So, chapter 13, our final chapter of Masechet Menachot. And we are going to be talking about people who make pledges. Let's try that one again. People who make pledges and how they have to honor those pledges. And what we're going to be seeing is if somebody makes a very kind of ambiguous pledge, dedication to the temple, and they don't explicitly state what they're going to be bringing, so then the halacha has to adjudicate, as it were, for what they need to bring. So the Mishnah starts off in Mishnah Aleph. Hare alai isaron. If a person makes the declaration that they are going to bring an isaron, a tenth of an ephah, for a mincha offering, so then the Mishnah says Yavi echad. Then they must bring an isaron for this meal offering. What if they say Hare alai esronim? What if they say they're going to bring multiple isarons, but they don't stipulate exactly how many? So the Mishnah says Yavi shnayim. Then, based on the fact that the minimum amount that you can have for a plural dedication is 2, so the Mishnah says that if he makes a very ambiguous declaration of multiple esronim, then he should bring, or he must bring, 2. What if he says perashti ve'eni yodea ma perashti? What if he says, I know that I've specified something, but I don't know what I have specified. I remember pledging, but I don't know how many. So then the Mishnah says yavi shishim isaron. He has to bring, according to this position in the Mishnah, he has to bring 60 isronim, because that is the maximum amount that one can bring in a meal offering. We're going to see that this is a machlokes later on, but for now, this is where we're at in the Mishnah. What if the person says Hare alai mincha? They declare that they are going to bring a mincha meal offering, but they don't stipulate what kind. So the Mishnah says Yavi ezosh, so he can bring whichever type of meal offering he wants. Says Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yavi minchas hasoles. He has to bring a fine flour meal offering. Shehi meyuchedes shebim menachos, because that is the most notable, that is the most special type of meal offerings that one can bring. So if you make an unspecified declaration, so then we assume he must have, perhaps we're assuming that he must have wanted to bring only the best and the finest to the Beis Hamikdash. Or if we're not assuming that, then that's the halacha anyway. Mishnah base. Person who says that they are going to bring a mincha, they're going to bring a meal offering, or they say min ha-mincha, type of offering, yavi echa, so then he only has to bring one mincha offering. What if he stipulates, and based on what we saw in the previous Mishnah, according to the Tanakama, that's going to be any kind of mincha, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's going to be specifically a mincha from the finest flour, minchas hasoles. Says the Mishnah, menachos. What if he says, I'm going to bring menachos, multiple? So he hasn't stipulated how many, so the Mishnah says, yavi shtayim. He has to bring 2 of the same kind of mincha. Perashti ve'eno yodema perashti. I know I've said something, I know I've dedicated something, specified something, but I don't know what I have specified. So the Mishnah says, yavi chamishtan. He has to bring 1 of each of the 5 different types of minchas, menachos, that there are available to bring. Perashti mincha shel esronim ve'eno yodema perashti. Well, if he says, I know that I've specified a meal offering of multiple esronim, but I don't know exactly what type I have specified, says the Mishnah, Yavi mincha shel shishim isaron. So then he has to bring a Mishnah. Sorry, I think this is even more technical than that. I think he has to bring 60 menachos of 1 through 60 esronim. So let me just see if I'm right there. He must bring a meal offering of 60 tenths of an ephah Oh no, so it's okay. So that's the first position that he brings a mincha of 60 isronim, just like we saw in the last Mishnah, which is the maximum. Rabbi Omer yavi menachos shel isronim me'echad va'ad shishim. He has to bring 60 mincha offerings, but he has to increase in increments each time. So he has to bring one mincha of one isaron, then another mincha of 2 esronim, then one of 3, then one of 4, then one of 5, then one of 6, resulting in a total of 1,830 tenths of an ephah that he has to bring, which is what would you call it? N to the power of 60 or whatever it is. I can't remember what that I did a whole coursework on it in GCSE, but now I can't remember what it's called. But the nth power or whatever. Fine, very good. That's all clear. Here we go with Mishnah Gimel. I'm going to sidetrack here to talk about other types of pledges to the Beis Hamikdash. Mishnah Gimel. Harei alai eitzim. He makes a pledge that he is going to bring wood. How much wood must he bring? Lo yifchos mishnei gezirin. He should donate no fewer than 2 standard-sized chunks of wood, because he has said eitzim, which is plural, so he has to bring at least 2 eitzim. Lavona, he makes a declaration that he is going to bring frankincense. How much? Lo yifchos mikometz. So then he should bring no less than 1 handful. Chamisha kamatzim hen. Tangentially, the Mishnah says that there are 5 halachot relating to the kamitza, the handfuls. Ha'omer horei alai lavona. A person who says that they are going to bring lavona lo yifchos mikometz, he should bring no less than a kometz, a handful. Hamisnadev mincha, one who dedicates, one who voluntarily offers to bring a mincha, yavi imar kometz lavona, he should bring with it a handful of frankincense. Hamale es hakometz bachutz, one who offers up the kometz, the handful of frankincense outside of the temple courtyard, is chayev, is going to be liable to the penalty of kares. Ushnei v'zichim, 2 final halachas here. Ushnei v'zichim to unin shnei kamatzim. The 2 ladles, the two bowls, as it says there, of frankincense that came along with the lechem apanim, that came along with the showbread, to unin shnei kamatzim, they would require 2 handfuls of frankincense as well. Says the Mishnah in Mishnah Daled, other pledges, which are not associated with the altar, but they are associated with temple coffers, the temple treasury. So the Mishnah says in Mishnah Daled, Harei alai zahav, person who says that they're going to donate gold, how much must they give to have reached a minimum requisite amount to be considered a donation to the Beis Hamikdash? So the Mishnah says, Harei alai zahav, person who states that they're going to donate gold, lo yifchos midinar zahav, they should give no less than a golden dinar. That's the minimum amount they have to give, which was the size of a standard coin, which is equal to 25 dinar kesef. Says the Mishnah, kesef, a person who says they're going to donate silver, lo yifchos midinar kasef, then they should give no less than a dinar of kesef, which is a 25th of that value of gold. Nachoshes, person who says that they are going to give copper, lo yifchos mima'ah kasef, they should give no less than the amount of a silver ma'ah, which is a 1/6 of a dinar. So that's the amount of copper. Peirashti ve'eno yodeh ma peirashti. I know that I've dedicated some kind of money, but I don't know what I have specified. Who maybe ad sheyoma lo lachach niskavanti. Then he has to bring however much he should bring, where it would be within his expectation of having donated that amount. Meaning, if he would have potentially given a donation of £100, so then he brings £100. If he knows that £1,000, he'd have never made a declaration that he would bring £1,000 to the temple, so then you know where to stop. But anything up until that threshold, that maximum amount that he would be willing to donate and is most likely or could have most potentially given, that's the amount that he would need to dedicate to the Beis Hamikdash. Mishnah Hey. Harei alai yayin. A person says that they're going to bring wine. Lo yifchos mishlosh lugin. So then they must bring no less than 3 log, because that's the minimum amount that would go along with a with a korban. What if shemen? What if he says that he's going to bring shemen? Lo yifchos milog. Then he should bring no less than a log, because that's the smallest amount that can be brought. According to Rabbi Tarfon, as we saw on last week's shirim, he'd be able to pledge oil on its own. According to Rabbi Akiva, if you recall, it said it can only come along with a korban. But either way, the minimum amount that you could be bringing is a log, according to the Tanakama. Rebbe Omer shlosha lugin. According to Rebbe, it has to be 3 log, because that's the smallest amount that can accompany a sacrifice. So 1 log could be brought on its own, at least according to Rabbi Tarfon. But according to the rest of them who say that it has to come along with an animal sacrifice, the minimum amount that you're looking at is 3 log of oil. Peirashti ve'eno yodema peirashti. I know that I've specified something, but I don't recall what it was. Yavi chayom hamrubeh. So then you have to bring the amount of oil needed to the largest amount of sacrifices brought, which is on first day Sukkot when it falls on Shabbos. So to avoid any kind of doubt, you have to bring that amount of oil, the amount that would be needed for first day Sukkot, which falls on Shabbat, which comes out at 140 log. You need 78 log of oil to accompany the 13 bulls. You need 8 log of oil to accompany the 2 rams. You need 42 log of oil to accompany the 14 sheep. You need 6 log of oil to accompany the 2 sheep for the Korban Tamid. And 6 log of oil to accompany the Korban Musaf, which was also 2 sheep. And so the rationale here is that we presume that people would want to bring the maximum possible amount of oil. So if they can't remember what they disclosed, so then we have to assume that it was 140 log of oil, which is quite a lot of oil. Mishnah Vav. Hare alai ola. Person declares that they are going to bring a korban ola. Yavi keves. Then they have to bring the smallest kind of animal that would fit the ola category, which is a cheves, which is a lamb. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Otor or ben Yonah. They have to bring either a dove or a pigeon. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're not necessarily arguing. It just depends on what the prevalent assumption would be. So for the Tanakhama, the prevalent assumption would be that you are going to bring an animal ola, and so you would need to bring the minimum amount, which is a lamb. But in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's place, it would seem that they may there was some prevalence of bringing bird olas, and so therefore you have to bring either a dove or a pigeon. Peirashti min abakar ve'en yodema peirashti. I know that I have declared that I will bring something from cattle, but I don't know exactly what I've said. So the Mishnah says, Yavi par va'egel. He has to bring a bull and he has to bring a male calf, because an ola is only brought from male animals, and so your only option is to either bring a mature bull or a calf. But you don't know which you've done, so that's why you have to bring both. Mina behema ve'enu yodem parashti. I know that I've said that I will bring from an animal, but I don't know what I have stated. Yavi par va'egel. So he has to bring the bull and the calf. Ayil gedi v'taleh. And then he has to bring a ram, a large male goat, and a small male goat, and a male lamb. So he has to bring all of those things because he hasn't been specific about what he's going to bring. Peirashti ve'enu yodema peirashti. If he says, I know that I've specified something, but I don't know what I've specified, so then he has to bring everything. So he has to bring the bull, the calf, the ram, the gedi, the goat, and the taled, the male lamb. And on top of that, he has to also bring Mosif Alehem Torah Uven Yonah. He has to bring the turtle dove, and he has to bring the pigeon as well, because he just can't be sure what it was. So it all has to be covered. Mishnah Zayin, Hare Alai Toda. He says that he's going to bring a thanksgiving offering, Ushlamim, or he's going to bring a peace offering, Yavi Cheves. Then at the very least, he has to bring a Cheves. These could be male or female, but they're only going to be animals. They're not going to be birds. So The minimum amount to bring is a cheves, a lamb. Peirashti min abakar ve'enu odea ma peirashti. I know that I've specified from cattle, but I don't know what I've specified. Yavi par upara, so I have to bring a bull and a female cow. Egel ve'egla, and I have to bring a male calf and a female calf. Mina behema ve'enu odea ma peirashti. I know that I said I'll bring an animal, but I don't know what I specified. So now you've got to accommodate for all of the 6 types of animals in both genders. So you're going to have to bring 12 animals. So you're going to have to bring Yavi Paru Para, the male bull and the female cow, Egel Ve'egla, the male calf and the female calf, Ayol Varachel, the male ram and the female ram, Gadiu Gadia, the male goat and the female goat, Seira Seira, the young male goat and the young female goat, Taleh Talia, and then the male lamb and the female lamb as well. So you're going to have to bring all of those different types of animals. Hare Alai Shor, Mishnah Ches. So he's pledged a korban, but he hasn't pledged how much he would spend. So, Harei alai shor, he declares he's going to bring a bull as a burnt offering or as a peace offering. Yavihu unesachav b'maneh. So he has to bring the animal and unesachav and its accompanying libations b'maneh. It all has to be worth 100 dinars. Says the Mishnah, Egel, he declares that he's going to bring a calf. Yavihu nesachav b'chamesh. So then he has to bring the animal and the libations for a total sum value of 5 selah, which is 20 dinar. So it's a fifth for a calf than the value for a bull, for a shore. What if Ayel, he declares that he's going to bring a ram. So how much does he have to bring then? So the Mishnah says, one second, let's just scroll down for you into the English. Let me find the place back in the Hebrew. Yavihu nesachav b'shtayim. So then he has to bring the animal and the libations for a total value of 2 selah, which is 8 dinar. Kevesh, if he says he's going to bring a lamb, Yavihu nesachav b'selah. So then he has to bring the animal and the libations for a total value of 1 selah, which is worth 4 dinar. Which, if you remember that the bull was worth 100 dinar, now we're only on 4 dinar, you can see the ratios of value between these different animals. Shor b'maneh. If he says he's going to bring a bull to the value of 100 dinars, so then the question is, can you use that declaration to cover the cost of the libations as well? Says the Mishnah, Yavi b'maneh chutz min hasachav. He has to bring a 100 dinar valued bull and then spend more to bring the libations to accompany it. Egel b'chamesh, if he says he's going to spend 5 selah, which is 20 dinar, on a calf, Yavi b'chamesh chutz min hasachav. So he has to spend that money only on the animal and has to spend more on the libations. Ayil b'shtayim, he says he's going to spend 2 on a ram. Yavi b'shtayim chutz min hasachav. He spends 2 on the animal and then has to spend extra on the libations. Keves b'sela, he says he's going to bring a lamb for the value of a selah. Yavi b'sela chutz min hasachav. So he has to spend a selah on the animal and then has to bring the libations as well. Shor b'maneh v'hevi shnayim b'maneh. What if he says he's going to bring a bull with a value of 100 dinars, but he brings 2 bulls with the total value of 100 dinars? So what's the story over there? The Mishnah says, Lo yatzah. He has brought a valid korban, but he has not discharged his obligation. Even if he brought 2 animals and each one cost 99 dinars, he has not fulfilled his obligation. Says the Mishnah, Afilu zeh b'maneh chaser dinar v'zeh b'maneh chaser dinar. Even if each animal was worth 100 dinars minus 1, meaning 99 dinars, he will not have fulfilled his obligation because he was supposed to bring an animal that was worth 100 dinar. Shachor v'hevi lavan. He says he's going to bring a black animal. He brings a white animal. Lavan v'hevi shachor. He says he's going to bring a white animal. And he goes ahead and brings a black animal. Gadol v'hevi katan. He says I'm going to bring a large animal, and he only goes and brings a small animal. Lo yatzah. So they're going to be kosher sacrifices, but he won't have discharged his obligation. Katan v'hevi gadol. But if he declares that he's going to bring a small animal, and then he goes and brings a large animal, then the Mishnah says, Yatzah, the first position according to the Chachamim, is that he has fulfilled his obligation because he has brought, at the very least, the value of a small bull. Rabbi Omer lo Yatzah. Rabbi says that he has not fulfilled his obligation, as he has specified something and he has not brought that, and so he has not fulfilled his obligation. Mishnah Tes. We're going to see the differences between declaring and taking a pledge on himself and taking a pledge or making a pledge on a particular animal. So the Mishnah says, Shor ze olah. If he declares that the bull is going to be for an animal, for an olah, for a burnt offering, so he's pledging the animal. He's not making a pledge incumbent upon himself to bring something. He's making a pledge specifically on a specific animal. So what happens if this animal now becomes blemished? V'nista'ev, and then the animal becomes blemished, so he can't bring it as a sacrifice anymore. Can he redeem it for some money and then change what he was going to do? So the Mishnah says, Imratza yavi b'damav shnayim. So he can redeem this bull because he can no longer bring it as a sacrifice. So that money then has to be used still for a sacrifice. But does it have to be brought? Does it have to be used for the exact same type of sacrifice? The Mishnah says if he wants, he can bring 2 bulls with that money instead of just 1 bull. Shnei shvarim elu ola. But if he declares that he's going to bring 2 bulls as a burnt offering, v'nistoavu, and they become blemished, so he can't bring them anymore, so he can redeem them and use that money to buy something else. So the Mishnah says, Imratza yavi b'dmehem echad. So then he can go and use that money to now pledge 1 bull. He has to use all of that money because it's sacred money for temple usage, but he can change what he was planning to bring. Rabbi Oser. Rabbi forbids this. Rabbi says that he declared he was going to bring 2 bulls, he has to bring 2 bulls. He said he was going to bring 1 bull, he has to bring 1 bull. Ayel ze olah. If he says that this ram is going to be an olah, v'nista'ev, and it becomes blemished, imratza yavi b'damav keves. If he wants, he can use the money to bring a keves. He can use the money to bring a lamb. Keves ze olah. If he says this lamb is going to be an olah, v'nista'ev, and that becomes blemished, imratza yavi b'damav ayil. If he wants, he can bring a ram with the money that he redeems. Rabbi Yosef, same position again. Rabbi says if you didn't pledge it, you can't bring it. Ha'omer echad mikvasai hekdesh. If he says that one of my lambs is now declared as hekdesh, let's just scroll down for you guys. One of my lambs has been declared hekdesh, ve'echad mishvarai hekdesh, and one of his bulls is now declared as hekdesh, as consecrated for temple usage. Hayu lo shnayim. If he has 2, but we don't know exactly which one was meant to be consecrated, hagadol shebehen hekdesh. The Beis Hamikdash wins, and the larger of these animals has to be consecrated. What if shlosha? What if he has 3 animals? So then the Mishnah says, Habeinoni shebahen hekdesh. The middle-sized animal has to be consecrated. Even though he may have consecrated the larger one, we're not sure. So he may have also, you see, consecrated the Beinoni. So actually, if I'm not mistaken what the Mishnah is saying, what you would have to do is, you have to leave the middle one to get a blemish and redeem it against the larger one. And you say it was the middle one. I'm not entirely certain what I've written over there. But the Mishnah says, Habeinoni shebahen hekdesh. The middle one is the one that has to be consecrated. Peirashti ve'eni yodea ma peirashti. If he says, I know that I've specified one of my animals, but I don't know what. Or she'omar, or he says, Amali abba ve'eni yodea ma. My father, before he passed, told me that I should that he's consecrated one of his animals, but I don't know which one. So then the Mishnah says again, Hagadol shebahen hekdesh. The largest of them is going to be consecrated for use in the Beis Hamikdash, because Hekdesh always wins. The temple always wins. Mishnah Yud. Is this our final Mishnah? No, not yet. Mishnah Yud. Harei olai ola. Ola. A person says that they are going to bring a burnt offering. So then, yakrivena b'mikdash. Then, as we would have assumed, you have to bring that sacrifice in the Beis Hamikdash. What if ve'im hikriva b'veis chonyo? What if he, though, instead of taking it to the Beis Hamikdash, he takes it to Beis Chanyo? What is Beis Chanyo? Beis Chanyo, Chanyo was the son of Shimon HaTzadik, and he was appointed as Kohen Gadol after his father's passing. But he was forced to run away. He was forced to flee, and he fled to Egypt. He fled to Alexandria, and in Alexandria, he actually built a Beit Korbanot, a place of sacrifice, a temple, which was known as Beis Chanyo. In English, there, the Temple of Onias. So it's there's a machlokes as to whether he did this for the right reasons, whether he did this for Hashem. But either way, you wouldn't be allowed to do anything outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So the Mishnah says that if he then goes, he dedicates this ola and he brings it up in the temple of Chanyo in Egypt, lo yatsa, he has not fulfilled his obligation. What if she'akrivena b'beis Chanyo? He declares that he's going to bring a sacrifice in Beis Chanyo. So the Mishnah says, Yakrivena b'mikdash, he has to bring it in the temple in Yerushalayim. V'im hikriva b'beis Chanyo, if he brings it in Beis Chanyo, then the Mishnah says, Yatsa, he has fulfilled not necessarily his obligation to bring a sacrifice, but he has fulfilled his oath. And he has no further obligation to bring another. Rabbi Shimon says, Ein zo ola. Rabbi Shimon says that if he declares that he's going to bring it in Beis Chanyo, then it is not considered an ola at all. So even if you go and bring it in the Beis Hamikdash, Rabbi Shimon says it's not going to count, and you have to reconsecrate again to bring an olah in the Beis Hamikdash. It doesn't count if you declare that you're going to bring it in Beis Chanyo. What if a person says, Hareini Nazir, they are going to take upon themselves a term of Nazarism? Mishnah says, Yigalach b'mikdash. Then when you come to go through the purification process and you shave all of your hair off, you have to do that in the Beis Hamikdash. V'im gilach b'beis Chanyo lo yatsa. If you go and do this procedure in Beis Chanyo, then you have not fulfilled your obligation. Sha'agalach b'beis Chanyo. If you declare that at the end of your Nazirite period, you're going to shave everything off in this temple of Chanyo, Yigalach b'mikdash, then you have to shave it off in the Beis Hamikdash. That's the appropriate place. V'im gilach b'beis Chanyo. And then if you go ahead and still shave it off in Beis Chanyo, the Mishnah says, Yatsa. And again, it means that he's fulfilled his oath and he doesn't have to reshave, but it's not where you're supposed to be doing things. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Ein ze Nazir. This person was not a Nazir because he has not declared his vow in the right within the right parameters. HaKohanim sheshimshu b'beis Chanyo. Any priests, any Kohanim who worked in this temple of Chanyo, Lo yeshamshu b'mikdash b'Yerushalayim. They were not allowed to serve in the Beis Hamikdash itself in Jerusalem. Ve'ein tzarech lomar ledavar acher. And we don't even need to say explicitly that if somebody served in a temple of idol worship, that they would also be disqualified from serving in the Beis Hamikdash. Shene'emar, as it says in Melachim Beis, chapter 23, verse 9. Ach lo ya'alu kohanei habamot el mizbach Hashem b'Yerushalayim. It says, nevertheless, the priests of the private altars did not come up to the altar of Hashem in Yerushalayim. Ki im achlu matzot b'toch achehem. But they did eat matzah among their brethren. Meaning, harehem k'balei mumim. The Kohanim who would, God forbid, serve in these other temples, they would become like a Kohen with a blemish. Which means that they're not allowed to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. But Cholkin va'ochlim, they are allowed to receive a share of korbanos, and they're allowed to eat them, aval makrivin, but they're not allowed to sacrifice anything as they would do if they were working in the Beis Hamikdash. And finally, guys, ladies and gentlemen, Mishnah Yud Aleph, the final Mishnah from Maseches Menachos. The Mishnah says as follows: Ne'emar ba'olah sabahema ishe reach nechoach. It said about the olah sabahema, the animal burnt offerings, that this is ishe reach nechoach. It is a fire offering, and the aroma is pleasing to Hashem. Uva olah sa'of ishe reach nechoach. And it says this about the bird burnt offerings, that they are a fire offering with a pleasing aroma to Hashem. Uva mincha ishe reach nechoach. And the mincha is also a fire offering pleasing, an aroma pleasing Hashem. Lelamed, which teaches us she'echad hamarbeh ve'echad hamamit. These are some of the most famous words in Chazal. Whether you are bringing a lot or whether you are bringing a small amount, as long as he is directing his heart l'shem shamayim, towards heaven, for the sake of Hashem. And we use these words to describe a lot of things in life. Whether you are committed to doing a lot, whether you are committed to doing just a bit, whatever it might be, whatever your level is at, as long as our hearts are about trying to build the connection and develop the relationship with Hashem, that's all he wants from us. We say somewhere else, Rahmana libabai. Hashem just wants our hearts. It doesn't matter whether we're doing a lot or a little, as long as we're doing it l'shem shamayim. We'll say together the last three words: Nishlama maseches menachos, Nishlama maseches menachos, Nishlama maseches menachos. Mazel tov, everybody, on completing Maseches Menachos. It's been a long, long journey, but we've done it! We've finally done it! And please God, when we meet again, we will start Maseches Chulin. In the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful evening.